almost everything that people really like. So clearly controlling competitive foods could help us fix the main meal, because if it weren't in competition with everybody's favorite junk food, perhaps it could move in a healthier direction. We could take steps to increase participation in the school food program. You may wonder why I would recommend that. Here I've said that the food can be pretty terrible. Now I'm suggesting more people should eat it. But in fact, the more people that eat in any given school, the higher the participation rate, the more the unit cost of producing the meal goes down, and so the more money that would be freed for purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables, buying that 30-inch low-rider salad bar. If you've been in any elementary schools that have a salad bar, it's great. They need to be about this high for the kids to be able to see. It took us a while to figure that out. So in any case, eating participation needs to be a part, I think, of almost any strategy. And when I think about the ways to increase participation, the most important changes have to do with reducing the stigma that's attached to school meals. In the schools that you attended most recently before Oxy, I mean, in your high schools, or I don't know quite how to ask this question. In how many schools was eating the official school lunch looked down on? How many of you went to schools where it wasn't cool to eat the school lunch? Okay, it's a problem all across the nation. It seems to me to be a worse problem in California. In many California schools, you have all those little kiosks where the competitive foods are sold, and that's kind of cool, and those lines move faster because whatever. But in any case, the problem of there being a stigma attached to eating the school meal is a nationwide problem, and we have to address that, I think, if we really want to solve the food quality issues. Culinary training, or hiring people who do know how to cook. If we had more money, we could reskill school food. And to quote Jamie Oliver in the episode I watched last week, he said, "It's not the food, it's not the kitchen, it's not the staff, it's money. I've got to find money." So this takes me to the last little section of my talk, which is about the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Bills now working their way through Congress. Money is the bottom line here, because we can't do the things we need to do to make school food healthier and tastier without more resources. President Obama had proposed a $1 billion increase, or $10 billion over 10 years. This was part of his commitment to ending childhood hunger. The Senate markup, the Senate Agriculture Committee, got the process first, and they came up with $4.5 billion. Now, I have to explain. This is $4.5 billion in new money, okay? And I don't actually have the figure for the total, but it's got to be around $18 or $19 billion a year already. All of the programs that are in child nutrition reauthorization. It's not just school lunch and school breakfast, but also the WIC program. Is that a program you're familiar with, the Women, Infants, and Children? The Child and Adult Care Food Program that governs food in daycare centers, the Summer Meals Program, and a couple other smaller programs. So it's a big package that affects the way our children eat. And as I say, he had asked for an additional $1 billion a year, and the Senate Agriculture Committee found $4.5 billion for the 10 years, so $4.5 billion a year, a little less. You may be wondering why. You know, if the president asked for $1 billion a year, how come the Senate committee only comes up with slightly less than half of that? It's because of the pay-go rules. I feel we're now entering the how a bill becomes a law lecture, which I'm not going to give, but there are rules that say that if Congress wants to put new money into something, they have to take that money out of programs that are under jurisdiction of the same committee. So the Senate Agriculture Committee had jurisdiction over those fat commodity payments for soy and corn and wheat and cotton At least it's not tobacco anymore. But they didn't take it from there. They took it instead from this food stamp nutrition education program and from an environmental equity program. But in any case, they could only find roughly half the amount. So now the next place the bill is likely to have any activity is in the House. And in the House, it's not the Agriculture Committee, it's the House Committee on Education and Labor. And this makes California really important because the chair of the House Committee on Education and Labor is George Miller, okay, a California congressman. So you have potentially an important role to play here because you could write or email or call your member of Congress and ask him or her to urge Chairman Miller to find resources for a better child nutrition reauthorization. In a minute we'll talk a little bit about what a better one might be. Then it'll go to the Senate floor, and that's another place where we might be able to find more money because once it gets to the Senate floor, you don't have to just take the money from programs under the jurisdiction of the Agriculture Committee. If you could take them from a war if you didn't want to fight it, or from any of a number of other sources. And then eventually after that to the House floor. Having said that we need more money in this bill, I want to say that there are a number of really good things in this bill that adequately funded, it would be a historic or a landmark bill. Just to run through them quickly, it does give the Secretary of Agriculture control over the set nutrition standards for competitive foods. So that's a long fight, would be in essence won. It does legislate that the new IOM standards would be implemented over a gradual period, and it does provide an additional 6 cents per meal reimbursement for schools that meet the new IOM standards. Out there in the advocacy community, we're screaming as loud as we can that we can't do this for 6 cents. And I think it's probably true that they can't meet the new IOM standards for 6 cents. It requires fresh fruit at breakfast 5 days a week, and providing fresh would be great for the California economy if it goes through, but it isn't just the convenience of juice that is the reason why schools rely so heavily on fruit juice to meet the fruit and vegetable requirements. It's also because it's the cheapest way to do it. So the IOM nutrition standards, there's money in there for farm to cafeteria. There's even $10 million for a pilot program of using organic food in the schools. And there is a rule limiting milk in schools to 1% or skim. On the participation front, there's actually a great deal in this bill. There's something called direct certification, which part of the reason that some children who really need these meals don't get them is because the process requires sending an application home and getting it filled out and sending it back, and it's easy to make a mistake, and then the school has to certify the child to one of those 3 categories, and then they have to verify a 3% sample of the applications that came in, and then all this has to be communicated to the cashiers, and then it all has to be aggregated and sent to the district, and then it all has to, there are many places for mistakes in this process. Direct certification certifies directly for free meals any child whose family qualifies for food stamps. And in this bill, there is a change in the law rules governing direct certification that will be very important for my state, but won't change anything here. And there is a provision that children whose families are receiving Medicaid, what do you call it, Medi-Cal here? Okay, who are on the Medi-Cal program, if they're income eligible, that information could be communicated directly to the school. There are 1.1 million children in the state of California in families who are income eligible for free and reduced price school meals, who are on the Medi-Cal program, but not on food stamps or TANF, and therefore not covered by the current direct certification process.